Welcome.
What is
UFC 280, baby.
Oh, we got starting off the show with rolling shadow boxing.
Shadow boxing, baby. I'm warmed up.
He's doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I've been watching my UFC embeds. I think they started already. I'm not sure if I'm already.
Yeah, the UFC embedded episode 3 should be out today. To be honest, I've only caught the first one, the Monday one. But boys, we're here for another MMA Tap Hour. It's been a while. I think the last one we did was for the Diaz pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken. But we have another pay-per-view, biggest one of the year. They're going to Abu Dhabi, Yas Island. We got Makhachev against the champ, even though he's not currently wearing the belt, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Got Justin here. We got Roland, and we got a special guest, the Oshers. We got Josh in the house. What up, Josh?
What's up, y'all? Glad to be back. Always fun to chop it up. Ready for another good, super good weekend of cards.
Yeah, we got an early Saturday card rolling.
Yeah, I was gonna say early Saturday. Gonna be perfect going along with college football. Some NBA just started. Got some NBA going on tonight. Gonna be going on through the weekend. So definitely looking forward to Saturday. And the Astros. What are they up 3-1 right now?
After back-to-back home runs. Yes, sir. Yeah. The Astros got an afternoon late night game Saturday as well. It's an action-packed Saturday, boys. Justin, how you feeling today?
Just glad to have UFC back, man. It feels like forever since 279. I had to think about it today, and I was like, what exactly was UFC 279? Because it's been so long, and I looked it up, and it was Leon and Usman, which honestly feels like 6 months ago now in UFC time. We're used to getting a pay-per-view a month, and that wasn't the case. Got a little extended break here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's great to be back, and with an action-packed card. Usually we break down, 2-3 fights. I think we're doing the full main card for this pay-per-view today, and there's even the undercard has some fighters, that normally would be on pay-per-view cards. So yeah, man, let's get this show started.
Actually, before we get into it, go ahead, Roland.
No, I was going to say loaded card and the thing that I like about this card is there's a lot of implications, right? There's a lot of like, hey, this guy wins. He's in line for the next shot. There's title eliminators if they're not fighting for the belt. We got belts on the line. We got guys trying to establish themselves as true contenders like a Sean O'Malley. So definitely looking forward to UFC 280.
Well, before we get into this card, we do have a sponsor, and we would like to show their video. Thank Top Grade for bringing you this show today. So here it is.
Get in top grade shape with Top Grade Physical Therapy. Let Dr. Rufino Gutierrez and his team give you the manual therapy you need. Soft tissue massages, joint manipulation and mobilization, trigger point dry needling, cupping, plus much more. Visit Top Grade Therapy today, 2801 West Expressway 83, Suite 210 in McAllen, or call 956-854-4364. It's not physical therapy if it's not top grade. No.
That's the best tagline, guys. It's not physical therapy if it's not top grade. If you're in the RGV area, go visit Dr. Rufino Gutierrez. He is a graduate from Mission Veterans. He left to Texas State, got his degree, and he came back to the community, guys. He's here to implant in this community and betterment of this community. He could have gone to San Antonio. He could have gone to New Braunfels and done over there. No, he's back. So, guys, if you have something wrong with you, an ailment, he works on a lot of things. Go see him at Top Grade Physical Therapy.
Yeah, man. It ain't physical therapy if it ain't top grade, and we got some top grade fights this Saturday, boys.
Well, let's Roland was talking about the embeddeds. We're at episode 3, and you know who's been all over the embeddeds? The guy who broke some news this week. This is a little fun, little icebreaker while we get into it. Hasbulla signs with the UFC. He says he's going to fight. Dana says it's a fight contract. Is this just promotion and hype for UFC 280? Or are you buying that there's going to be some sort of Ringham and Bailey carnival circus going on, and we're going to have Hasbulla enter the ring with somebody?
Hey, if he's getting in there, I know the guy, baby. We talking about sports. We'll get Yosh in there against Hasbulla. Right, Yosh? Representing Flow Martial Arts. You'll take care of Hasbulla, cuz. You know.
Josh, what do you think about that? Is it just promotion, or are you buying it? Is it just, hey, we're going to put his name on the fight kits and we're going to make We're going to sell the crap out of these shirts. What is it?
Nah, it's perfect PR, man. You got this guy on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. You're going to have people who haven't watched UFC start watching UFC because of this guy. He's a national sensation, so it's just perfect use. Just money-making moves, just UFC things.
Yeah, some more promo, like Josh said, just, finding a way to stay in the press, I guess, or in the news. But Hasbulla, 19 years old, just living his life. You got to wonder. Again, I've seen people question this. Like, this is kind of like along the lines of, like, I'm not even going to say it.
Hey, bro, Hasbulla is like 30, rolling. He ain't 18, 19 years old.
I think he's 19.
He's 19.
Yeah.
He's 19.
His face and his Benjamin Button is 30, but
yeah,
he still hasn't reached his physical peak, his prime. So I think he belongs in the rough and rowdy ring, though, not the UFC octagon, bro.
Yeah, I agree. And let's get into the meat and potatoes of the UFC here. This is a prelim card. We got Sean Brady versus Bilal Bully Muhammad. Sean Brady's coming in with no losses. He's 15-0, 3 KOs, 4 subs with a 47% finish rate. It's a tough opponent. Bully's on a streak. Let's take a look at Sean Brady's last 5. He's got a win versus Michael Chiesa, Jake Matthews, and Courtney McGee. Those are the names you really recognize on this list. Ben, what do you like off this top 5 right here, his last 5?
I like Michael Chiesa. Aside of Michael Chiesa, I mean, he's been a guy who wins in convincing fashion. He usually dominates if he doesn't get the finish. Did go to a decision with Chiesa, but Chiesa is one of those top 5 guys, top 10 guys. Really no shame in going to a decision and still beating him. So I mean, Sean Brady's tough. I don't think that he's really been tested. To be honest with you. And that's the case with a lot of guys that have O's next to their name, with the exception of a couple. But early in his UFC career, for the most part, yes, he's got a handful of fights, but hasn't really taken that step up. I think now he's fighting a top 5 fighter, so it's going to be a big step up, and we're going to find out a lot about Sean Brady.
I think that's a good comparison. Michael Chiesa with Bully B, very similar styles, wrestle heavy. So he's passed that test. So you kind of like what you're seeing. Roland, what do you think about these 5 fights?
I mean, like Ben said, Michael Chiesa, definitely the one that pops off the screen for you. And for me, too, when I look at Michael Chiesa and I'm trying to, find some correlation in like past fights for this guy versus the opponent that he has in front of him, Chiesa is a guy that likes to take stuff to the ground. He's a guy that likes to go for the submission. He likes, like Ben said, to dominate the fight, have a lot of control. And I like that Sean Brady was able to get the decision, get the victory against that, and that's gonna lead me to probably my pick for this fight. So definitely like that victory against Chiesa.
Josh, any of these 5 fights, anything stand out to you other than obviously he doesn't get the knockout, the finish? It's decision pretty much, except for 2 of them.
Well, if I remember correctly, that Chiesa fight was on a Wednesday card in the middle of the pandemic, and I remember it being somewhat of a grapple fest, so that's what I expect to see usually, just because both him and Bilal have been having that style, bringing that pressure and holding against. So I just expect this to go to decision either way the win goes. This is going to be one of those fights where you see a lot of pressure held against one. We'll just see who has the right stance against it.
All right, let's move on to Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. As you can see here, all green except that no contest where he got poked by Leon Edwards. And you can see here, he's fought Vicente Luque, a guy who's a good striker. Stephen Thompson, another good striker. And then the standout here for me is probably Demian Maia, because it's going to be a similar style of grapple heavy. And he's got the win over here. Ben, we'll start with you. What are you thinking with these last 5 fights? Probably some more recognizable names here.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking name recognition. Now we're talking about being tested, going through the ringer. And, Bilal Muhammad has been in the UFC a lot longer. I mean, you see Leon Edwards there 4 fights ago. You know what I mean? Leon Edwards, it's known that he went through the ringer as well to finally get his title shot and be the champ. He fought him 4 fights ago. And, that fight, I wish we could have seen more. I think
that's
that
active,
was done.
man.
Yeah, after one round, but yeah, active, and then a win over Damian Maia, a win over Stephen Thompson, another fight where he was a big underdog, and people didn't know, how's Bilal Muhammad gonna beat Wonderboy? He dominated Wonderboy.
Yeah.
I mean, super boring fight, but he dominated him, kept him down. Bilal, remember the name Nurmagomedov now, man. If I saw the first episode of Embedded, and he's out there with Team Khabib. He's in the same training camp as Makhachev. So he's taken on a new style of just being a grinder and a wrestler. He's big enough to where he can hold guys down, doesn't have big knockout power. Josh said he loves the over, that both guys go to decisions. Bilal Muhammad has had one fight end, inside the distance dating back to 2016. It's nothing but decisions with this guy. I like the fact that he went out with that camp. I like the fact that he's embracing the wrestling. Sean Brady, like Roland said, to beat Michael Chiesa in his own realm, for the most part on the ground. You got to give him props for that. That is a big test on the ground, but it's only one test. I think Bilal Muhammad has a lot more grit to him, a lot more fight, a lot more dog. He's got that dog in him. I like Bilal Muhammad in this fight, bro. I really do. I think that he's been tested with the upper echelon of the division. I think he can win 2 rounds against Sean Brady. I think he can grind out 2 rounds, and he's a dog. You got the higher ranked fighter as a dog. Give me a piece of Bilal Muhammad this week.
Roland, you did talk about earlier that some of these fights, there's a lot of meaning behind them because they could be next in line. With a win for Bilal Muhammad, is he next in line for the welterweight shot?
Bilal definitely falls in line with being one of those guys for sure. Like you said, he's been one of the most active guys in the UFC over the past couple of years, and he's been winning, like Ben said, in kind of in dominating fashion. Like he dominated Stephen Thompson, very impressive victory. A lot of people thought that, hey, Stephen Thompson's going to be able to use his length and his kickboxing to keep him at bay, and he's really not going to be effective in taking him down. But the exact opposite happened. Bilal imposed his will, and I don't know. I'm glad Ben brought it up because I was going to ask the question if you guys put a lot of stock in him being out there with Khabib. Personally, I don't look into it too much just because I believe Bilal's, he's a wrestler. Like, what else is he learning from Khabib to be more dominant or something on the ground or, get stronger?
Probably a few new techniques, just a little bit tune up.
I like the discipline and the game plan, Roland. Sure. He also partakes in a lot of prayer, like they do a lot of the same religion. So he kind of fits in with the camp, but he's a guy that could really stick to a game plan. And that's a camp who puts out really good game plans for the most part.
So my thought process here, and I could be wrong, but this is why I think Brady is going to win the fight. I don't think this is going to be so much on the ground. I think both of these guys are pretty good on the ground. And we've seen this before with people that are well-versed on the ground, opponents well-versed on the ground. They're like, okay, it's kind of an X over here. I might be able to take him standing. And that's where I think Brady's going to take advantage. I've seen Muhammad strike. I'm not very impressed personally, but I think that's where this fight's going to go. So I like Brady here.
Josh, you were a guy that was high on Vicente Luque. What do you feel like a win for Bilal over him? So, what does that propel him for this fight? Does it matter any since it's a complete different style? What are you thinking with that?
Yeah, I was super high on Vicente Luque, and after his last 2 fights, he's been on a slump, probably in that gatekeeper position. And with Bilal, I don't think his for the notable streak he has, I don't think his name stand out as much as Chiesa did against Brady, because I think Chiesa MMA math doesn't work, so it's hard to base it off of MMA math. But that's probably my thought process. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna take Brady. I'm gonna say Brady has the higher pressure and he applies it just to dig out that over 2.5. It's gonna go to decision. I really think this one goes to decision, no question. But all right. I'm gonna say Brady takes it probably.
I'm gonna be on the Bilal side. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he's the veteran. Going to Khabib's camp, what I think helps is just little techniques, little, fixer-ups here. I think he'll edge it out. I think we're going to see a decision win by Bilal. And like Roland said, these are the type of wins you want in this UFC card to get noticed for the next title shot. A lot on the line, a lot of implications in this card. Let's move over to the next fight. And this is a really good fight. It's Mateusz Gamrot versus Beneil Dariush. Ben, off the top, what are you thinking here? I'm gonna show you his last 5 fights for Matus.
Yeah, Matus Gamrot, an up and coming prospect, big win over Armenian.
Sarkarian.
I'm not gonna try it right now but that was one that could have gone either way. I know a lot of people there was a lot of hype behind Charqui. I tried it. It was horrible. He's got to win against our boy Carlos Diego Ferreira, who hasn't been there in a while. Yeah, Jeremy Stevens. Gamrot, he's game, just like his nickname says, gamer. He's game. Mm-hmm. He's got big power. This is an old timer, the vet against the young guy. Could Bilal hold this guy down? Because that's Bilal's, I know I'm skipping a little bit ahead, but if Gamrot can keep the fight standing, I think there's a chance that he can get Beneil Dariush out of there. Beneil Dariush been dropped a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I think that the gamer Gamrot is a real deal, bro. I like the hype behind him. Dariush is a top 5 guy, and here you've got Gamrot as a almost 2-1 favorite in this fight. So give me Gamrot, kind of short and sweet on this one. Dariush, nice story, for Dariush, but I think it's just his time has passed. He never really got that big fight, that title shot, and I think his time has passed. And this guy's on his way up. So give me Gamrot, and I think that Gamrot gets him out of there. Give me second round finish.
Roland, I know MMA math doesn't always work, but here we got a guy who's both fought CDF. You got Matus with the win over CDF by KO TKO, and then you got Beneil who got through him by decision. Do you weigh anything on that when you see those two guys with a similar opponent?
I do. I do take, depending on how recent the fight was and, relative to the fight that we're looking at, I might take it into consideration, just depending on like if one guy may have had like a more impressive victory, or if someone might have struggled. Look into it that way. But here, this is just me, honestly, I do watch UFC a lot, but I would consider myself more on the casual side, because what I'm about to say is, from what I've seen from Dariush, I understand he's a very skilled fighter, but it's just not very impressive. Every time that I've seen him, I've more than likely been on the other side. I respect his style. It's very good in MMA, but once you start fighting against the higher caliber guys, like, you need something else than being, to me, what I've seen from Dariush, kind of like a backpack kind of guy, impose his will on you, get you tired, have octagon control, get you on the ground. And once you start getting up a notch higher and higher against some of these guys, and you look at like Tony Ferguson, he was on his way out. Completely opposite match here with Gamrot, like Ben alluded to. He's a skyrocket going towards the top. So I'm also on the other side here of Dariush. I'm with Gamrot on this one.
Josh, I know this is a guy that you actually have broken bread with. Are you going to have a homer pick here, or do you value the skills of Benny Dariush?
Yeah, no, I got to go with him, man. Me and Gabe personally watched him at 262, just manhandle Tony Ferguson. And the day after, we wake up Sunday morning and he puts on his IG, he says, "Hey, I'm at a cafe, come chill with me." And we go in thinking, it's going to be like some coffee shop or something like that. It's this high maintenance Mediterranean food place. And him and some people had just got done with like some service, and they were there, and they, like you said, we broke bread. It was an awesome time. He gave my dad a shout out in a video. So I got to go with him for sure. I just think he usually comes off as a more stockier guy, like one of those guys who cuts a lot to go to 155. But I think he looks shredded. I hope the layover pays off for him. And
that's a long layoff, Josh. Was it a year?
It is, yeah. May 2021, I believe. Yeah.
He had an injury, correct?
Yeah.
Foot injury.
Yeah, injuries with the layoff. He was scheduled with Makhachev 2 or 3 times. Just never worked out. But I got to go with Beneil. Hard to root against him. I like Gamrot. I think he's handled his last opponents really well. But I think Beneil's just going to come out like a bear and just lay over him, and if not get the TKO, I think it'll go to decision, but it'll be decisive.
Well, we've seen Beneil here on a 5-5 win streak. Any chance he's getting a shot out of after Volkanovski if he wins? Because I know Volkanovski's been named as the next fighter that gets a shot at the title for light 155. Any chance we're looking at Beneil for a title shot?
I mean, I think that he has to get a finish. He's fighting down in opponents as far as, in the rankings, I believe, for this fight. Yeah. Yes, he is the underdog, but he's got to do something. He's got to choke him out, put him to sleep, do something. For this one, I know the under 2.5 is at plus 155. I like that. In my breakdown, I kind of said that I believe that Gamrot can get him out of there standing up. So I like the under 2.5 at plus 155 for this fight.
All right. Roland, you gave your pick as well, right? It was Matus?
Yeah, I was on Matus. And to answer your question, I would still go with Volkanovski over him, even if he gets his victory. I mean, yeah.
Well, he's been named. He's getting the shot no matter what. Yeah. I just wanted to know, would he be second in line after Volk?
Yeah, after Volk, yeah, for sure, I think.
Yeah. Josh, you said Dariush. Do you want to predict how? Is it going to be decision, sub? How's he getting this finish?
My head says decision. It'll be a decisive decision, too. He'll get the takedown.
I like that. That's not all the way homer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to another fight. I'm actually going to be with Matus. I think he can.
How would Justin not giving his prediction? Come on.
My bad. I'm with Matus Gamrot. I think he can equal at least Beneil Dariush on the floor as far as the wrestling goes. I think Dariush is more game with the BJJ, but I don't see Matus putting himself in enough position to get tapped. But yeah, so give me Matus. I think the line's a little bit more juiced than I would have liked to seen it at. I would have loved it more at minus 150. I would have played it at minus 190. It just might be too much for me to squeeze on. All right, moving on to another fight with implications. We have Sean O'Malley coming in, stepping up in competition big time because he fights tomato cans for the most part. But this is no tomato can he's fighting. He's fighting a very game Peter Yan, ex-champion. Ben, let's look at Sean O'Malley's last 5 fights. He's got a no contest against Pedro Munoz, a win over Raulian Paiva, Chris Moutinho out of the UFC, Thomas Almeida, and then Chito Vera. He has that loss from breaking his foot he broke? Yeah. What are we thinking here with these last 5?
I mean, I think that it's crazy with those last 5, and especially the way that the Pedro Munoz fight went, and the judges having it 1-1, and Munoz is kind of that stepping stone guy. He's kind of that guy that you beat to get up there and play the big dogs. So Sean O'Malley wanted this fight. He's heard it. He's on the internet just as much as we are. This guy's always on the internet. He sees that he's only fought tomato cans. That record is padded. So, hey, he wants to call his shot. And Roland, hasn't the line, gone in his favor? Now, he is a fan favorite, so he's big with the celebrities and all that. So the money is probably going to come in on him. But what did the line open up at?
Yeah, fan favorite consensus. The line opened up around minus 370, depending on your book. But most Las Vegas books I'm looking here open at minus 370. And like Ben said, he's a fan favorite. He's going to catch a lot of money. He rolls like with the Nelk boys, with the guys that Ron rolls with, the Send It crew. So he's going to catch a lot of their money. And, I do want to say, again, like I said earlier with my Dariush breakdown, I am on the casual side of things here. But just looking at the way this fight breaks down, there is a clear path to victory for Peter Yan, I believe. But just, playing devil's advocate here, matchup-wise, I see why Sean O'Malley would want this fight. To him, he's thinking, like Ben said, hey, he's fighting trash cans. Now, here's a guy in Peter Yan who just lost. Peter Yan likes to strike a little bit. He's a boxer. Sean O'Malley is taller than almost everybody in the division, lankier than everybody. He's a great striker. He's a known striker himself. He likes the matchup. And you know what? I kind of like the matchup. I think I may have missed the train here on his price, but man, I don't know, man. I see why he wants this fight. Because I mean,
so you also agree with the line movement?
I agree with it somewhat. I maybe not $1.50 like it's moved in most spots, like from minus 370 to what Justin's showing at plus 220. I think that's a little rich for me because, like I said, I think I may have missed the boat on taking Sean O'Malley. I don't know if I'll play this fight, but I think he's live for sure. He's a live dog.
And it is only a 3-round fight. You know what I mean? So if Sean O'Malley, Josh, can get those rounds where kind of maybe both guys don't really do much. He's able to keep his distance, maybe some flashy kicks, get the oohs and ahs, maybe get a round or two swayed in that way. But do you see O'Malley standing a chance, Josh? Where does O'Malley stand in your book?
I think everybody pictures this going in Peter Yan's way at one point or another within the time that this fight has been announced till now. And I would say, man, it'd be crazy to live in that perfect world where we see Sean throw that overhand right in the middle of the second round and catch him. Like, that would break the internet. That would increase his PR. That'd be some, I don't know. He's been comparing himself to McGregor a lot lately. That'd be like Conor knocking out Aldo in 4 seconds. Yeah. That'd probably be as big as that. That'd be that big to do something against Peter, because Peter's very skilled, and very fun to watch. And man, I think we've counted. We're not going to count on Yan at all, but I think we might be counting out Sean too early. I think it'd be nice to even see him go the distance even.
Do you think this fight stays standing the whole time, Josh?
Yes, for sure.
That's interesting. That is the way that I think that O'Malley's only chance is. He's got to kind of catch him with that one shot, because I think if we're talking all around game, I kind of see this going kind of like the Chito Vera fight, where Peter Yan just bullies him, bro, and just, it's like a man and a boy. He kind of puts on that lesson on him. You know what I mean? Where Sean O'Malley maybe breaks, wilts, backs off. Peter Yan has been a champion. Arguably, some people say he beat, a guy who we're going to talk about later in the Funk Master in his last fight. So it's wild to me that the line is getting shorter for Yan. I thought this was going to end like at 5-1. To be honest with you, I don't see O'Malley doing it unless it's like something very weird, something very crazy, odd has to happen in this fight for O'Malley to win, and that's the only way I see him winning.
Yeah, when I'm looking at Peter Yan's last 5, the only losses come to the grappler, the Funk Master. When he's fighting a stand-up guy, you're looking at one of the best stand-up artists in Jose Aldo, a lanky stand-up artist with Corey Sandhagen. That's a similar build. Yeah. He's got through the test on those guys. I think it's going to be Peter Yan. I think the boxing is going to be the difference. You're not going to catch him with the shots that O'Malley catches guys with, just standing there. This is a big step up in competition. The head movements, not on a steady plane. He's moving that head. It's hard to find. It's hard to find that chin. The line says so as well. -265 currently. Give me Peter Yan.
Just from implication standpoint, I'm thinking about this from Sean O'Malley's point of view. You take the fight, obviously you win, you're good. But if he loses, do you think it's damaging, or do you think he can just play it off as I took a huge step up in competition? I'm still on the come up.
I think it depends how he loses, Roland. I think if he gets put out, for sure, people are going to be saying, "You see, we told you so." As soon as you fought, like Ron's saying here in the comments, he hasn't beat a true contender yet. That Chito Vera fight was his biggest test till Pedro Munoz. And then in the Munoz fight, like we said, something stupid, weird, crazy happens. The fight ends in a no contest. And then he goes and acts like he won. So, I mean, bro, I think
he's been cringe since the Chito Vera thing.
I think that it's going to be that we told you so. It was that internet hype. He got the machine behind him in the UFC. He's good with the younger generation of UFC fans, good on the internet, gamer, all that. But, bro, this is going to be, back to reality, kid. Back to reality.
And if he somehow pulls it, it's the rocket behind him 100%.
Like Josh said, it's McGregor beating Aldo. If he beats him, he's got the title shot next, guaranteed. That's also probably why he wanted this fight, because he knows if he beats Peter Yan, well, who do I got to fight next? I just beat Peter Yan. You know what I mean?
You beat the guy at that point.
At that point, the UFC has every excuse to give him that title shot they want to give him so badly.
Any last parting thoughts on this before we move to the co-main?
I hope I'm right. Shit.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Bantamweight Championship. Aljo -175 versus TJ Dillashaw, coming back after a year or two being out. What is it, Josh? Do you know?
For who?
For Dillashaw? It's been a year or two now.
Well, he had that Sandhagen fight last July.
Yeah, so it's been a year.
Well, let's get into Aljo's last 5. They're all dubs. We're in the green here. 2 against Peter Yan. We had the DQ where he won the belt, but then he kind of made it right in a close fight. It could have gone either way. I think he did enough with the grappling. Just completely anaconda freaking Corey Sandhagen. Just wrapped him up, chokehold. Like, that fight lasted, 30 seconds and it was over?
Yep.
And then we go Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera. He's kind of fighting the upper echelon of this division. Ben, what are you thinking with these last 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Aljamain, he's a guy that I like to follow a lot. I think that he can be a little bit cringe. I was on his side, when he took that brutal knee from Peter Yan and got the belt by disqualification. I was one of the guys that said, we were on him when we did the podcast. We said that we had, Aljamain winning that fight, and we got the win in some wild way. But hey, we'll take it however they come. Then he rematches Peter Yan, and he, backpacks him for 2 rounds, completely dominates him, holds him on the ground, doesn't do the most damage, but, in fights like that where he has his back for the whole round, he's getting those shots in. Might not be the hardest shots, but he's scoring. So I'm not mad at him winning the last fight. Not the most exciting fighter. Like we said, with a guy like Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling does not want to stand. Josh talked about how skilled he was. Peter Yan is probably the best boxer in that division, arguably. So Aljamain had to get it to the ground. He did. He was very successful. He's good at sticking to a game plan. In the embeddeds, he looks like he's in the best shape that he's ever been.
Yeah.
Pause, whatever. But the dude looks like a champion. He looks like a champion. He definitely has the confidence of a champion after, righting his wrong against Peter Yan. So I think that he's feeling himself. I think that he's at his peak right now. I think that he's where he's supposed to be. This was a long way coming for Aljamain Sterling. Now he gets to fight, one of the OGs, one of the guys who ran the division for a while, PEDs or not PEDs, but TJ Dillashaw. So huge test. Love it. This is a guy he hasn't fought, one of the guys that he should beat in this division. Definitely a name he wants under his belt. And it's an older TJ Dillashaw. So good time for Aljo to be fighting him as well.
Roland, Ben was talking about, how Aljo got through Peter Yan. It was grapple heavy. But here he has an opponent who kind of knows what he's doing on the ground. Is that going to negate any of Aljo's offense? Are we going to see this standing up more?
I don't think we're going to see this standing up more because Aljo knows where he can win. I don't think he's going to want to stay standing up with this guy. And I'm glad Ben ended his point with what he said, because that's where I was going with my take. Was this is not the TJ Dillashaw that we've seen in years past. This is a guy who's been through wars. That Sandhagen fight was a war. It resulted in him having to get 2 knee surgeries or something crazy like that. Completely shredded his knee. Got put out by Cejudo when he tried going down in weight. This is a different guy. This is not the same guy that put out Cody Garbrandt back to back. And if you think about it, really, I mean, I'm not going to go that far, but
I knew where you're going though.
The shadow boxing we saw, Roland, you might be able to, cuz.
No, I'm not going to go
Roland
that
in
far.
one.
Jab knocks out Cody nowadays.
I like Cody Garbrandt. I'm a fan of his, but you know what I'm saying. He's had a glass jaw ever since he got put out by TJ. So, like Ben said, Aljamain Sterling, physically, mentally, best spots of his life. He's completely come into his own since righting his wrong against Peter Yan, and he embraced being kind of like the heel guy during that whole thing where he took the belt through disqualification.
Because he didn't do anything wrong, Roland.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong, and people were giving him crap for the whole, oh, you got knocked out and you're taking shots afterwards and this and that and celebrating. But he embraced it. And then he went and he took care of business, split decision, but still won the fight. I like him to keep the belt. Maybe this was TJ Dillashaw before all the wars, before all the surgeries. I would look somewhere else, but give me Aljo.
Before EPO.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, settle down, cuz.
Josh, as you can see here, Cejudo 2019, no fight in 2020. Corey Sandhagen 2021, and now he's fighting again at 2022. Lots of layoff here. Any rust in the cage, does that worry you any bit?
I would say yes, just because this is like so much has happened in this division since TJ had his last reign. Like it's a whole nother crew, it's a whole nother top 10. There's just so much that's going on, and he's trying to slowly adapt with these layovers while everything else is happening fast. Aljamain's wins have been pretty decisive, in my opinion, except for obviously the disqualification. But I watched his last couple fights, and he was putting in the work while Dillashaw was on the side. And I think Sandhagen's a hard fight to come back off of, but somehow the judges gave it to him. I wasn't in agreement with that decision.
That's a good point too.
It's easy for me to knock on TJ, but I just see the way I see this going is I just see Aljo probably. It's best if it stays standing, but I think Aljamain's smart enough to have the IQ and the surroundings to let him know they're not going to keep it standing. So I think it's going to be Aljo probably by decision, and that's going to be my pick.
So you all think Aljo is going to be able to hold TJ Dillashaw down throughout the fight?
Yes.
Justin, do you see him holding TJ Dillashaw down?
I'm a homer here. TJ Dillashaw is one of my guys. I got to go with Dillashaw here. I think he has enough wrestle defense to stay away and not, be on the ground for all 5 rounds. I think he's very live when he's standing up, with his coach, that one-on-one work that they got. I like Dillashaw here. I think we got one more run out of him, maybe 1 or 2 fights after this where he defends the belt. Give me TJ Dillashaw, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my pick too, and I'm gonna go with TJ Dillashaw. I don't understand how the line has gotten wider on Aljamain Sterling. Give me the more well-rounded guy. Yes, he popped for EPOs. He's back, and he looks just as fit as he did when he was taking EPOs. The dude's
he's on something. I'll tell you that much. He's on the clear something.
He's a freak, bro. He's a freak. He's willing to push his body even though he gets hurt in the octagon. Another thing that I like, this is not a guy who's going to quit on you. When he's in there in the octagon, he tore both of his ACLs, whatever it may be. He got that win over Sandhagen also. Give me TJ Dillashaw as the dog to get the belt back.
There we go. All right, let's move on to the main attraction of the UFC 280, the main event. This is something that was, unfortunate for for Charles. He's not defending his belt here. They stripped him because of the Gaethje fight. He came in a pound heavy. The Arizona Commission said, we got to strip you of the belt. So he's not getting a title defense. They're fighting for the belt here. Very unfortunate. I hate to see it for him. Let's look at his last 5, Ben. You're talking about the who's who of the lightweight division, those last 3. You got Gaethje, you got Poirier, you got Chandler, you got Tony Ferguson when he was a little bit better than what he's shown lately, and you got Kevin Lee. All finishes. This guy is a finishing machine. Ben, I'll have you started off. What do you think about these last 5?
Like you said, gone through it. There's a reason why he's sitting on top of the throne. Every time that he fights, he gets it done in exciting fashion. Guy who in all those fights, he's gone through some sort of controversy. At some point in that fight, he's been dropped. He's gotten back up. And then when you see how he beats these guys, drops Justin Gaethje. Everybody thinks Justin Gaethje standing up, one of the baddest dudes. Hey, after getting rocked, stands up, drops Justin Gaethje. Same thing with Dustin Poirier. He ends up subbing him, but dropped him as well, after being dropped. So Charles do Bronx Oliveira, fan favorite. I think that this fight here, boys, is as close as we're going to ever get to a Tony Ferguson against Khabib.
It is.
Because, you got Charles Oliveira, the guy who on the ground, most guys, when they do drop him, a reason why he's able to come back is because they're scared to follow him to the ground. They want him to get back up, let him recoup a bit, but they don't want to follow up with those kill shots. Now he comes up and, he comes up against the wrestling guy, the guy who's not scared to jump on him if he does, drop him. So I think that this is as close as we're ever going to get to Ferguson and Khabib, although I think that this is like Tony Ferguson on steroids right here, bro. This is a better version of what we would have gotten, I believe, with Tony Ferguson against Khabib. And maybe Makhachev is a lesser version of Khabib because this is his biggest test, to this day. So I love the matchup. We've been drooling over this matchup all summer. We've been waiting for it to get made so that Charles do Bronx Oliveira, so we can see if he can tap him out. So I love this fight, bro. Charles Oliveira, the only thing missing on his resume is Makhachev. So love this fight. Love this fight.
Roland, let's go to you. You're looking at the who's who, the gauntlet of the lightweight division. Charles is battle tested. He's gotten through it. What highlight do you see here of these 5 fighters that you can say, hey, this is kind of like Islam style? Would it be Kevin Lee?
Probably be Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's the guy that likes to get stuff on the ground, but I still can't compare Kevin Lee to Islam in terms of their
still
dominance.
Levels.
It's still, like you said, levels. The styles are similar, but to me, here the Ford. I mean, all 5 of these are impressive. Tony Ferguson, you can say what you want about him. Kevin Lee as well, but the top 3 victories are against a who's who of the division, and I like that he did go through some controversy in each of them. There were ups and downs. He, like you said, he's battle tested. He went through the controversy with the weight scales before the Gaethje fight, strengthened him. So he has the mental fortitude.
Yes.
He's able to get through adversity. And this is another stylistic fight. Both of these guys well versed on the ground. What's gonna break? Is Islam gonna be able to ground and pound and impose his will on Do Bronx, or while he's doing that, is Do Bronx gonna catch him and get him with a submission? Like there's just so much to think about with this fight. Like it's really hard to pick a side here, personally. So you guys are gonna have to come back to me on my pick here as we wrap this up.
It's a great fight, Roland.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
Josh, let's move over to Islam's last 5 here. Not a lot of ranked opponents. As far as names go, Bobby Green, I think he's in suspension now for popping off. Dan Hooker, who's can't decide if he's a lightweight or a featherweight, not a top 5 guy. Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Davey Ramos. I mean, when you talk about battle tested on the other side, you cannot say the same for Islam Makhachev. If you're on Islam Makhachev's camp, Josh, does that worry you at all?
I think the thing that worries him the biggest is going back to what Roland said about mental fortitude, is this is more of a livelihood, Islam. I think this is more obviously it's a livelihood for both of them, but I just think that he's probably the pressure is going to be higher on him just because Charles done what he's done. That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is you have to do a thing 1,000 times in order to get it right and do it 1,000 times more after that. I feel like Charles becomes more of a human when he steps into the octagon, and it's more pressure on Islam with his background and who he's surrounded with. And I just think, yeah, exactly. I just think the pressure is going to catch up, and we'll see though. We'll see. This is a very interesting fight because it could go. I just see it going. I don't know. I'm wondering what's in my head. The biggest question is, does this go over 2.5 rounds? And what would be crazy is seeing a grapple fest. Like, what if neither of these guys just get subbed? What if it just goes out to like a wrestling show or something like that? It's just, I know who I'm picking, but I just don't know how it's gonna go. Ben, what do you all think? What would you all say about finishes or overs or unders?
I think in the Charles Oliveira fight, it's only under. That's the only way that you can look, just because of his fighting style. Like, he gets right to it. There's not much time wasted when he's in there. You see all these submissions under Makhachev's record, but he's fighting the guy who leads the UFC in all-time submissions. That's his best path. Is obviously just holding Charles down and grinding him. Do we see any way that he subs Charles? Does he just bully him? Crank his neck? Like, I don't see any way in hell Charles Do Bronx taps. I don't.
Ben, so Josh brought up the jiu-jitsu aspect about doing it 1,000 times. Here's the thing. Charles, as far as being in the octagon when he's doing jiu-jitsu off his back, he hasn't been the best guy at getting subs. He's better when he's on top. Do you weigh any factor that he's going to be fighting a wrestler this time? And more than likely, with wrestling, he might be on his back a little bit more.
He might be on, and I don't doubt that at all. He might be on his back. Shit, I don't think he'll pull guard because I think this is a fight Oliveira would prefer standing up, especially with the with the step up that we've seen in his striking recently, going toe to toe with the likes of Poirier.
He's got bricks for hands.
For sure, bro, and he mixes it up. That teep kick, straight up the middle to the gut. Another kick, another weapon that he's been using a lot recently. So love his chances here, but I agree, Justin, very fair point. Can I see that happening for 5 rounds? Can I see Oliveira, just being held down? Because like when I say that Oliveira's not going to tap, I don't mean like he's going to get subbed and he's just going to go to sleep off of pride. I don't think that he can get caught in a submission by Makhachev. So if
he's not high enough level,
he might be high enough level, bro. But when two guys are that high level, sometimes it's just a stalemate, and he's just gonna hold him down, sit in his guard, beat him up a bit. But Charles Oliveira hasn't fought like that. His fights have been exciting. I don't see it happening. He's gonna go out on his shield, but I don't see him getting subbed. I'm going with Oliveira in this fight. Even when you pulled up the last 5, Makhachev, yes, he's been winning. He's been winning very decisively. But Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, a guy that everybody's just stomping out when they fight him. Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, guys that aren't wrestlers, don't have much game off of their back or on the ground. Huge test. We're getting the champ at plus money. Give me the champ.
So just quick question, and you guys talked about it a couple of times. I wanted to ask Justin and now Ben that you mentioned it. Do you think Islam is he truly like the rightful challenger in this spot, or do you think there's just a little bit of, hey, there was some how do you say lobbying going on with Mr. Dana White, and hey, get my boy the title fight?
I mean, it's either Makhachev or Dariush, because Oliveira has beaten everybody else at the top, and Justin's boy Chandler lost his fight to Gaethje to get the shot. So he's a rightful guy at this point. He does deserve this fight. He does.
Yeah, I say that too, because Charles in his press conference, or one of his press conferences, he said that he's only here because some guy in his corner was asking for the fight. He's talking about Khabib.
Yeah. No, has he beaten the highest of ranked guys? No, but Charles Oliveira has kind of gone through the division to where this is just one of the other names that he has to fight, and it's a name with a lot of hype behind him. Yes.
I think another name you can throw into that mix would be Rafael Fiziev. He's on a 6-fight win streak. His last fight was with Dos Anjos, and Bobby Green was in there as well. That's at least better record or better last 5 opponents than Islam. So you could throw him in the mix, but he doesn't bring the Khabib, backing the hype that Islam has currently. So that would be the difference maker for Islam being kind of the rightful guy next. I mean, at the end of the day, Oliveira's cleaned out this division almost. He needs new opponents. So I don't mind necessarily seeing Islam here. I do want to talk about a point that Ben was talking about as far as pulling guard. We have seen Oliveira kind of use a strategy where when he gets caught, he goes and pulls guard. And, guys don't want to go into his guard because they're afraid of getting tapped. They're afraid of getting subbed. And he kind of gives them that time where the ref has to pull him up. He takes his time to get up, kind of recovers. It's a different game. Any chance he's getting caught and tries to pull guard at all to use that strategy that he's used to lengthen his career here as far as not going down?
Oh, man, that's a tough call because, you would think Islam with his
wrestling pedigree.
His wrestling pedigree, he would just, eat that up and be like, you're going to let me, get on top of you right now?
He's following him 100%.
Yeah, so I don't know if he wants to play that game here.
I want to see that game. I want to see a little bit of that.
Do we think that Makhachev is going to catch him standing up though?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Not really.
Exactly. So
we're just covering all bases here.
He's going to obviously the perfect scenario for this fight for Charles Oliveira is the fight takes place standing up the whole time. So he's not looking to pull guard against somebody like Makhachev. Even though with his pedigree and his accolades, it's suicide. You don't want to put yourself on the ground to where that's where the only route that he maybe has, for winning. Because standing up, bro, it's going to be one-way traffic. And hopefully Oliveira catches him early and just gets him out of there, man. That'd be amazing.
Any chance Oliveira calls out Khabib?
Yes, I think so. But he did say this week that he would take on Volk. He would take on Volk for the 155 title if he wins, but then he wants to go to Brazil and fight for the featherweight title to be double champ and take Volk on over there if he beats Volk. So that's kind of where his plans have been as far as what he's saying so far in these press conferences.
Okay.
Well, let me give out my pick. It's going to be Charles Oliveira plus 160. This might be the last time you got a chance to get Charles and plus money for the money line. Especially if he wins this fight, you're never going to see him at plus money again.
Never.
So you might as well let it ride. Plus 160. He's an absolute live dog. So give me Charles. Josh, who do you got?
The dog, man. The dog with the heart. The one illuminated by God.
Cards.
The man from the favela. You already know, man. He's going to pick up Islam, get his back, and choke him out in front of Khabib's corner.
Yeah.
He's going to make it juicy and then call him out.
Talk that, Josh.
It's going to be and still.
Oh, okay, he's defending. I get you. Ben, you said who now for your pick?
Yeah, I'm on Oliveira as well, man. I agree with you. I'm gonna go down with the Charles do Bronx Oliveira train. Never been the biggest, Magomedov, Khabib corner, that whole camp of a fan. So I'm hoping that he teaches him a lesson. We pump that hype train back, and Makhachev then starts getting, some top 5 names on his resume. So yeah, give me do Bronx.
Roland, finish it. Who are we picking here?
I think this might be a pod pick. Give me Oliveira.
Oh no!
This is Brazil. I'm with Charles Oliveira here. He's gonna win, like Josh said, from the favela. Give me Oliveira. I mean, Ben's talking. Oliveira. Ben's talking. The only way you take Oliveira fight in an over under is the under. Why not? Look at Oliveira inside the distance or something like that. I think that might be worth a play too to get juicier odds. So
hopefully we didn't jinx Oliveira by all picking on him.
Right?
Yeah, it'll definitely be our fault if he loses, Justin. It won't be that he's a 2-1 dog for sure.
Oh, 100% is going to be on us. Well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us. UFC 280 Saturday night, Abu Dhabi. Looking forward to this card completely. Anything else y'all want to put out? Josh, I know you got some fighters this weekend. What's the deal?
The plays. We're going all dogs this weekend. Let's go Charles Oliveira. Let's go Beneil Dariush. And we didn't mention this fight, but it's on the main card. I think Caitlin Chukagian gets a decision win.
And she's a dog as well. So you really are sticking with the dogs.
Dogs.
Yeah, except he went Funkmaster, right? Or did you?
Speaking of that, hey, I think the universe has put this in place. Ben's at the side of me on the screen. What about a live gentleman's, Ben? Let's do it.
What do y'all have in mind?
Okay. Well, what are we talking about here?
I got 20 that says Funkmaster wins.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm down. We're
you gotta do the handshake across the screen.
Let's do it.
Good enough, close enough.
We're in, Josh, but
let's do it, bro.
Clear, Funkmaster is a favorite, so you're not going all dogs.
Yeah, I'd rather play a friend than a bookie. Let's do it.
All right. We're on for that one.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps it up for UFC 280 MMA Tap Hour. Thanks to Roland. Thanks to Josh. Thanks to Ben for coming on the show with us.
Yeah.
And we'll have something for y'all Sunday morning, right, Roland? 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.-ish, as Ron likes to say. We'll be on. We talking about sports. What do we call it? The Sunday sit-down?
The Sunday sit-down, Sunday session. Yeah, it's going down.
Hey, real quick, just maybe we'll do some type of recap. If this card lives up to the hype, maybe we'll come on here and do a little bit of matchmaking afterwards, like we tend to do after the big cards. Have Josh back on here, watch him cash at me live, for losing his bet and shit. So.
Yeah, if we're not doing that, then we might as well also we might do like a Twitter Spaces or something if we don't come on. But we'll have something for after the show.
If all else fails, y'all got that Adesanya Pereira card up next to go back to.
Well,
the cards are getting juicier.
They like to finish the year on the
bang. Yeah.
Hell yeah, baby.
Peace, guys.
Later.